We're here to say goodbye to our brothers and sisters, to our fathers and mothers, to our friends.
The dark fate of Jon Snow in his spin-off, Snow. What if I told you that Jon Snow's story didn't end with exile beyond the wall? What if I told you that the spin-off series Snow isn't a tale of redemption and peace, but one of tragedy, darkness, and fate catching up to the last true hero of Game of Thrones?
Can never
Today,
be repaid.
we're diving into the chilling truth.
It is
the dark
our
fate
duty
of Jon Snow in his own spin-off. The last time we saw Jon, he was walking into the frozen unknown, leaving the Seven Kingdoms behind.
To keep them alive in memory.
Crown, no family, just ghost and the free folk. It looked like freedom, but in reality, it was exile. And that's where Snow begins.
Everyone in this world
Jon Snow's fate has
owes
never
them a
been
debt
freedom.
that can never.
His life has been chains. Chains of duty, chains of prophecy, chains of bloodline, and chains of guilt. And those chains, they're about to drag him deeper into the abyss than ever before. Because if you've followed Jon's journey, you know one undeniable truth: Jon Snow is cursed. Not by magic, not by prophecy alone, but by the weight of being a man who always does the right thing in a world that punishes honor. From Ned Stark's execution to Ygritte's death in his arms, to the betrayal at Castle Black, to murdering Daenerys, Jon has lived a life where every sacrifice leads to suffering. Snow won't break that pattern. It will intensify it. Let's start with the psychology of Jon Snow after the Game of Thrones finale. He killed Daenerys, the woman he loved, the woman he believed in. He stabbed her in the heart to save the realm, but what did it earn him? Nothing. No throne, no gratitude, just exile. That trauma doesn't vanish. Imagine carrying the memory of her final breath, her blood on your hands, and knowing that history will paint you as either a villain or a coward. That is the Jon Snow we're left with. A broken man pretending to find peace among the wildlings. But peace is an illusion. In Snow, Jon's past will haunt him. Dreams of Daenerys, whispers of the Targaryen bloodline he never claimed. Nightmares of the dead rising in the snow. Trauma doesn't fade, and Jon is not a man who forgives himself. This spin-off won't be about healing, it will be about unraveling. And here's where things get darker. Jon Snow is a Targaryen. That truth didn't matter in the finale, but in exile, it matters more than ever. Why? Because bloodlines have power, and Targaryen blood is not just political, it's magical. The same blood that allowed Daenerys to hatch dragons flows in Jon's veins. What if the North beyond the wall awakens something within him? What if the magic of the old gods and the fire of the Targaryens collide inside a man already broken by guilt? That's not redemption. That's corruption waiting to happen. Now let's think about the wall and the lands beyond. We were told the White Walkers were destroyed, but were they really? Magic that ancient doesn't just vanish. The wall itself was built not only of ice but of spells, blood wards, and forgotten rituals. With the Night King gone, something else could rise in his place. Darkness abhors a vacuum. What if Jon's presence beyond the wall stirs that darkness? What if the man who once saved humanity now becomes the beacon that draws new nightmares to life? That's the tragedy of Jon Snow. The man who was brought back from death may have been brought back for a purpose darker than anyone imagined. Picture it. Wildling children whispering about shadows in the woods. Entire villages vanishing. Strange lights flickering in the frozen distance. Jon, already haunted, forced to take up his sword once more. But here's the catch. What if Jon himself is part of the darkness? What if resurrection wasn't a gift, but a curse? Melisandre always said the Lord of Light brought people back for a reason. What if Jon's reason isn't to rule, but to fall? The spin-off could explore Jon's slow descent into becoming the very thing he fought against. Not a White Walker, not a Night King, but something even more terrifying. A man who loses himself to the darkness inside. Because Jon's greatest enemy has never been others, it has always been himself. His doubt, his guilt, his refusal to let himself be happy. And in the frozen wilderness, those demons have no distractions. They will consume him. But Jon's fate isn't just personal. It's political too. Word travels, even to the wall. South of the Neck, the Seven Kingdoms will hear whispers. The trueborn Targaryen still lives. Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen. He may have been exiled, but to some, he is the rightful king. Imagine lords and knights, weary of whatever chaos brews in King's Landing, rallying behind Jon. He doesn't want it. He never has, but power doesn't care about want. And when men march north to crown him, they bring blood and fire with them. Jon will be dragged back into the game he tried to escape. And every choice will lead to more loss. Think of Sansa in the north, Arya sailing west, Bran on the throne, none of them truly safe from the ripples of Jon's existence. Even in exile, he is a threat to every ruler, a weapon for every rebellion. Jon can't escape his bloodline. He can't escape his name. That's the tragedy. Even when he wants peace, war will find him. And what of love? Jon's story has always been one of love destroyed. Ygritte died in his arms. Daenerys died by his hand. Ghost is the only companion who has never betrayed him or been lost. Can Jon ever allow himself to love again? In Snow, the answer may be even darker. Perhaps he tries, only to watch it crumble once more. Because Jon Snow is not built for happiness. He is built for sacrifice. And that sacrifice may demand his life, truly, this time. Remember, Jon has already died once. He was resurrected by the Red Woman's magic. But life after death always comes with a cost. Beric Dondarrion was resurrected 6 times, and every time, he lost a part of himself. He said resurrection was never free. Jon's survival was bought with fire and blood. What if Snow is the story of that debt finally being collected? What if Jon's ultimate fate is not to live in peace, not to rule, but to give his life permanently, maybe to stop a new rising darkness, maybe to save the wildlings, maybe to prevent history from repeating? That would be the darkest twist of all. Jon Snow's watch finally ending in death, with no return. But here's another chilling thought. What if Jon doesn't die saving others? What if his fate is darker still? What if Jon becomes the new Night King? After all, he has the bloodline. He has the connection to the north, to magic, to prophecy. Imagine a broken Jon, consumed by grief, corrupted by dark forces, slowly transforming into the very thing he once destroyed. The ultimate tragedy, the hero becoming the monster. It would tie the story in a haunting circle, showing that history is not broken but repeated, again and again. And Kit Harington has hinted at this darkness himself. In interviews, he's said that Jon ended the series in a state of trauma. That he's not okay. That there's more to explore about a man haunted by his past, carrying unbearable guilt. That doesn't sound like a redemption story. That sounds like a descent. And Harington fought for Snow because he wanted to show the consequences of Jon's choices, the real weight of killing Daenerys, the real pain of exile, the real curse of survival. So when we talk about the dark fate of Jon Snow, it isn't just about his death. It's about inevitability. Jon's story has always been one of sacrifice, loss, and destiny he never asked for. He isn't the fairy tale hero who gets a happy ending. He's the tragic hero who carries the world on his shoulders until it crushes him. Snow is the perfect opportunity to finally show that truth without the distractions of thrones and crowns. Just Jon Snow, alone in the cold, battling demons both real and internal. And maybe that's why fans should brace themselves. Because if Snow ever comes to life, it won't be the reunion we hope for. It won't be Jon finding happiness or freedom. It will be the story of what happens when a man who has already given everything has nothing left to give, but fate demands more anyway. In the end, Jon Snow's spin-off may not heal the wounds of the Game of Thrones finale. It may deepen them. It may leave us colder, more unsettled, more broken. But that's the point. Because Jon Snow was never meant to ride into the sunset. He was meant to remind us that in the Game of Thrones, even the noblest